Dr. Hae-Jin Park rubbed her tired eyes and looked at her computer screen again. The numbers were still there, unchanged. She had been staring at them for the past 3 hours in her small office at the Korean Space Research Institute. Something was wrong with these readings, or perhaps something was very right. The large wall clock showed 11:30 p.m. Most of her coworkers had gone home hours ago, but Hae-Jin couldn't leave. Not with these strange numbers in front of her. The space telescope had been watching a distant black hole for the past 6 months. Everything had been normal until last week when the readings started to change. This can't be right, she said to herself, reaching for her 4th cup of coffee. Black holes were supposed to pull everything in, even light. But this one was different. It seemed to be letting some things out. Hae-Jin picked up her phone and called Dr. Jae-ho Kim. She knew he would still be awake. He never slept before midnight. After 3 rings, he answered. Hae-Jin, why are you calling so late? Jae-ho, I need you to look at something. Can you check your email? I'm sending you the latest data from the telescope. There was a pause as Jae-ho received the email. Hae-Jin heard the clicking of his keyboard through the phone. Then, silence. This must be a mistake, Jae-ho said finally. The equipment must be broken. I checked everything 3 times, Hae-Jin replied. The telescope is working perfectly. These readings are real. But this goes against everything we know about black holes, Jae-ho argued. Black holes don't just start releasing energy in regular patterns. It's impossible. Hae-Jin stood up and walked to her office window. The city lights of Daejeon spread out below her, twinkling like stars. Maybe we don't know everything about black holes, she said quietly. Maybe what we think is impossible isn't impossible at all. Hae-Jin, be careful, Jae-ho warned. The last scientist who claimed to find something this unusual became a joke in the scientific community. No one took their work seriously after that. I know the risks, Hae-Jin said. But what if we're seeing something real? Something new? We can't ignore this just because we're afraid of being wrong. Jae-ho sighed. She could picture him running his hand through his gray hair, the way he always did when he was worried. Fine, he said. Let's look at the data together tomorrow morning. But don't send this to anyone else yet. We need to be absolutely sure. After hanging up, Hae-Jin turned back to her computer. She opened a new document and began typing everything she had observed. The black hole was 50,000 light-years away from Earth. It had been completely normal until 7 days ago. Then it had started releasing energy in regular bursts, like a lighthouse beam spinning in space. As she typed, her hands shook slightly with excitement. If these readings were real, this could change everything scientists thought they knew about black holes. It could change how people understood the universe itself. Hae-Jin stayed in her office until 2 a.m., recording every detail. When she finally left, the security guard gave her a concerned look. She had been the last person to leave the building every night this week. On her drive home, the city was quiet, but Hae-Jin's mind was loud with questions. Why was this black hole behaving so strangely? What had changed after 6 months of normal readings? And most importantly, what would they find when they looked closer? She didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning. The mystery of this unusual black hole would soon become the biggest scientific discovery in human history. And Hae-Jin Park, the scientist who couldn't leave her office because some numbers looked wrong, would be at the center of it all. 1 month had passed since Hae-Jin's late-night discovery. The data kept coming, and the strange behavior of the black hole continued. Every 12 hours, it released energy in perfect patterns. This was something no one had ever seen before. Hae-Jin sat in a large conference room at the Korean Space Research Institute. Around her, 20 of the world's top scientists watched as she presented her findings. Some looked interested, others looked doubtful, and a few looked angry. This goes against every law of physics we know, said Dr. Wilson from Harvard University. His voice was loud and dismissive. Black holes don't behave this way. They can't behave this way. He-Jin took a deep breath. She had expected this reaction. "The data is clear," she said, pointing to the graphs on the screen. "We've checked our equipment multiple times. These readings are real." Jai-Ho stood up from his seat. He had been skeptical at first, but after weeks of studying the data, he now fully supported He-Jin's findings. "We understand this seems impossible," he said, "but sometimes the impossible happens. That's how science moves forward." Just then, a young man at the back of the room raised his hand. He looked nervous but determined. "Dr. Park, I've been studying your data," he said. "My name is Tae-Sung Lee. I'm a theoretical physicist, and I think I might know why this is happening." The room went quiet. Tae-Sung walked to the front, his hand shaking slightly as he connected his laptop to the projector. On the screen appeared complex mathematical equations. "Look here," he said, pointing to his calculations. "If we consider quantum mechanics and Einstein's theory of relativity together, there's a small possibility that under very specific conditions, a black hole could maintain a stable state of both consuming and releasing energy." He-Jin leaned forward, studying the equations. They were complex but elegant. They explained exactly what her telescope had been seeing. "This is remarkable," she said. "Would you be interested in joining our research team?" Before Tae-Sung could answer, another scientist spoke up. "This is ridiculous," he said. "You're risking your reputation on impossible theories and questionable data. The scientific community will never accept this." He-Jin stood straighter. She remembered all the nights she had spent checking and rechecking her findings. She thought about the patterns in the data that couldn't be explained by equipment failure or human error. 20 years ago," she said calmly, "scientists thought it was impossible to take a picture of a black hole. Now we have several. Science moves forward when we question what we think is impossible." The room erupted in heated discussions. Some scientists gathered around Tae-Sung's laptop, studying his equations. Others argued loudly about the impossibility of the findings. Through it all, He-Jin remained calm. She knew that challenging accepted theories would not be easy. After the meeting, Tae-Sung approached her. "I would be honored to join your team," he said. "I've been working on these equations for years, but no one would listen to me before. They said I was wasting my time." He-Jin smiled. "Sometimes the most important discoveries come from ideas everyone else ignores," she said. "Welcome to the team." As they left the conference room, He-Jin's phone buzzed. It was an email from the Institute's director. More telescopes around the world were now pointing at her black hole. The data from these new observations would arrive tomorrow. The challenge was just beginning, but He-Jin felt hopeful. With Jai-Ho's experience and Tae-Sung's theoretical work, they were getting closer to understanding what made this black hole so special. And maybe, just maybe, they were on the verge of changing how humans understood the universe. The laboratory hummed with energy as computers processed data from telescopes around the world. 3 months had passed since the controversial conference, and He-Jin's team had grown. Their newest member, Dr. Sun Mi-cho, sat at her desk, her fingers flying over her keyboard as she worked on her quantum computing models. "Everyone, come here quickly," Sun Mi called out suddenly. Her voice echoed through the lab, making He-Jin, Jai-Ho, and Tae-Sung rush to her station. On Sun Mi's screen, complex patterns danced across multiple windows. To most people, they would look like random numbers and shapes. But to these scientists, they told an incredible story. "Look at this," Sun Mi said, pointing to her main screen. "I've been running simulations of Tae-Sung's equations through our quantum computer. The black hole isn't just releasing energy. It's maintaining a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge." He-Jin leaned closer to the screen. An Einstein-Rosen bridge was what many people called a wormhole, a tunnel through space that could connect two distant points. Scientists had always believed these bridges would collapse instantly if they ever formed. "That's impossible," Jai-Ho said, but his voice was full of excitement rather than doubt. "The energy requirements would be exactly what we've been measuring," Tae-Sung finished, his eyes wide. He grabbed a marker and rushed to the whiteboard, starting to write equations. If the black hole is somehow generating this specific energy pattern, it could stabilize the bridge. Sun Mi nodded eagerly. My quantum simulations show it's possible. The mathematics works perfectly. This black hole isn't acting against physics. It's using physics in a way we never imagined possible. He-Jin felt her heart racing. If they were right, this wasn't just a strange black hole. It was a gateway, a stable pathway through space that defied everything humans thought they knew about the universe. We need to prove it, she said firmly. Sun Mi, can you run more simulations? Test every possible scenario. I've already started, Sun Mi replied. She pulled up another window showing hundreds of test scenarios. The quantum computer will need about 48 hours to process everything, but the initial results are promising. The team worked through the night, checking and rechecking their findings. They ordered dinner to the lab and barely noticed when the sun rose the next morning. This could be the biggest discovery in human history. They had to be absolutely certain. As they worked, He-Jin thought about what this could mean. If they were right, humans might have found their first real possibility of interstellar travel. The black hole could be a doorway to distant parts of the universe. 2 days later, Sun Mi's quantum computer completed its calculations. The team gathered around her station again, holding their breath as she opened the final results. It's confirmed, she said, her voice shaking with excitement. The mathematics is solid. The physics is sound. This black hole is maintaining a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge. And we can prove it. He-Jin looked at her team. Jai-Ho with his decades of experience, Tai-Sung with his brilliant theoretical work, and Sun Mi with her groundbreaking quantum computations. Together, they had just changed humanity's understanding of the universe. We need to write this up properly, He-Jin said. Every calculation, every simulation result, every piece of evidence. This time, no one will be able to dismiss our findings. As they began documenting their discovery, He-Jin's phone rang. It was the Institute's director. Dr. Park, he said, his voice urgent. The government wants to meet with your team. They're talking about funding a mission to study your black hole up close. He-Jin looked at her team, still busy at their computers. Their breakthrough was about to take them somewhere none of them had expected. The real adventure was just beginning. The main conference room of the Korean Space Agency was filled with important people. Government officials in dark suits sat alongside scientists and engineers. At the front of the room, Hyun-Woo Kang, the agency's top aerospace engineer, stood before a large screen. This is Pathfinder, he said, showing an image of a sleek space probe. We designed it specifically to study the unusual black hole. It's the most advanced probe humanity has ever built. He-Jin watched from her seat in the front row. The past month had been busy with meetings, proposals, and planning sessions. After her team's breakthrough, the government had moved quickly to fund a mission to study the black hole up close. The probe has special shielding to protect it from intense gravity. Hyun-Woo continued. It carries instruments that can measure things we've never measured before. And most importantly, it can send data back to Earth even under extreme conditions. A government official raised his hand. How much will this mission cost? Less than you might think, Hyun-Woo replied. The United States, European Union, Japan, and India have all agreed to share the costs. They're as interested in this discovery as we are. He-Jin stood up to speak. This black hole could be humanity's first chance to study a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge. The potential benefits are beyond calculation. The room grew quiet. Everyone there knew what was at stake. If He-Jin's team was right, this mission could change the future of human space travel. When can we launch? Another official asked. Hyun-Woo clicked to the next slide. We can be ready in 6 months. The probe is almost complete. We just need to run final tests. Later that day, Hyun-Woo showed He-Jin and her team around the facility where Pathfinder was being built. The probe sat in a clean room, surrounded by technicians in white suits. It was smaller than He-Jin had expected, but its silver surface gleamed with promise. The probe has 3 main parts, Hyunwoo explained. The front section carries the scientific instruments. The middle section holds the power systems and computers. The back section has the engines and fuel. Sun Med walked around the probe, studying it carefully. Will it be able to handle the quantum measurements we need? Yes, Hyunwoo said proudly. We built everything to your specifications. This probe can measure things that no other machine can measure. Tae-sung looked worried. But can it survive close to the black hole? The gravity there will be intense. That's why we added extra shielding, Hyunwoo explained. The probe can handle forces that would crush a normal spacecraft. We've tested it under extreme conditions. As they talked, technicians continued working on the probe. Each part was checked and double-checked. Nothing could be left to chance. This mission had to succeed. 6 months seemed like a long time, but He-Jin knew they would need every day. There were thousands of details to manage, countless tests to run, and endless preparations to make. That evening, as He-Jin left the facility, she looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the mysterious black hole waited. In 6 months, humanity would take its first step toward understanding one of the universe's greatest mysteries. We're really doing this, she said quietly to herself. We're really going to study a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge. The night was clear, and the stars seemed brighter than usual. Perhaps they were celebrating humanity's boldest scientific mission yet. The Mission Control Center was silent except for the soft beeping of computers. Chief Mission Controller Do-hyun Choi sat at his station, watching the data stream in from Pathfinder. The probe had reached its destination after 6 months of travel through space. Now it was about to make its first close pass by the mysterious black hole. All systems are functioning normally, Do-hyun announced. Pathfinder is maintaining its planned course. He-Jin and her team watched from their stations. Each of them monitored different aspects of the mission. Sun-Mi tracked the quantum measurements. Tae-sung watched the gravitational readings, and Ji-ho analyzed the energy patterns. Suddenly, Do-hyun leaned forward in his chair. Something's wrong, he said. Pathfinder is changing course. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said from his engineering station. The navigation system is automated. It can't change course unless we tell it to. But the screens showed the truth. Pathfinder was turning away from its planned path. Instead of following its careful orbit around the black hole, it was moving in a new pattern. Are the engines malfunctioning? He-Jin asked, moving to Do-hyun's station. No, Do-hyun replied. All systems are working perfectly. The probe is following a new course, but it's doing it deliberately. Look at these movement patterns. He pointed to a graph on his screen. The probe's movements weren't random. They formed a clear pattern, almost like a dance around the black hole. This is strange, Sun-Mi said, studying her own readings. The quantum measurements are showing regular fluctuations. It's as if the probe is responding to something. He-Jin felt her heart beat faster. Could it be receiving signals from somewhere? The room grew quiet as everyone considered this possibility. Pathfinder had been built to send data back to Earth, not to receive commands from unknown sources. Look at this, Tae-sung called out. He had been comparing data from different telescopes. There are more black holes like ours. They form a pattern across space. I can't believe we didn't see it before. He-Jin rushed to his screen. He was right. Their mysterious black hole wasn't alone. There were others, spread out across the galaxy like points on a map. And all of them showed the same strange energy patterns. The probe isn't malfunctioning, Do-hyun said slowly. It's following a path that connects these black holes. But who or what is guiding it? For the next several hours, they watched as Pathfinder continued its new course. The probe sent back massive amounts of data about the black hole and the space around it. Every reading, every measurement suggested that something unprecedented was happening. We need to tell the world about this, Jaiho said. These black holes, they're connected somehow. They might be part of something bigger than we imagined. Hejin nodded, but she felt uneasy. They had sent Pathfinder to study one mysterious black hole. Instead, they had stumbled upon what looked like a network of them, spread across the galaxy like a giant web. As the day turned to night, the team remained at their stations, watching and recording everything. Their simple mission to study a black hole had turned into something much more complex. They weren't just observing a scientific curiosity anymore. They were witnessing something that could change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. And somewhere in the depths of space, Pathfinder continued its dance around the black hole, following patterns that no human had programmed it to follow. The Mission Control Center had been working non-stop for 3 days. Mayra Song, the team's communications specialist, had joined them to help analyze the strange signals coming from Pathfinder. She sat at her station, surrounded by screens showing complex signal patterns. "These aren't random," Mayra said, pointing to her main screen. "Look at how they repeat. These are definitely messages." Hejin looked over Mayra's shoulder. The patterns showed up as waves on the screen, rising and falling in regular sequences. They reminded her of music notes on a page. "Can you decode them?" Hejin asked. Mayra nodded slowly. "They're mathematical sequences, very complex ones. But here's the strange part. They're written in a way that seems meant to be understood, like someone designed them to be found and read." The room grew quiet. Everyone understood what Mayra was suggesting. These signals weren't natural. Someone or something had created them. "Show me the sequences," Tae-sung said, moving to Mayra's station. As a theoretical physicist, he might understand the mathematics hidden in the signals. Mayra pulled up more detailed graphs. The sequences appeared as elegant lines of numbers and symbols. Tae-sung's eyes widened as he studied them. "This is incredible," he whispered. "These aren't just mathematical sequences. They're equations describing the structure of space-time itself. Whoever sent these signals understands the universe in ways we can barely imagine." Sun Mi joined them, bringing data from her quantum computer. "The signals match patterns we've seen in the black hole's energy emissions. Someone is using the black hole network to send these messages across the galaxy." Hejin felt a chill run down her spine. They had thought they were studying this strange natural phenomenon. Instead, they had found evidence of advanced engineering on a cosmic scale. "We need to tell the world," Jaiho said. "But carefully. This kind of news could cause panic." Hejin nodded. "First, we need to understand exactly what we found. Mayra, can you keep working on decoding the messages? Tae-sung, help her understand the mathematics. Sun Mi, see if your quantum computer can predict what other patterns we might find." As the team worked, more data poured in from Pathfinder. The probe continued its careful dance around the black hole, gathering information about the signals and the strange network it had discovered. Do-hyun, who had been quiet for a while, suddenly called out from his station. The probe's movement patterns, they matched the mathematical sequences in the signals. Pathfinder isn't just receiving the messages. It's following instructions hidden inside them. Hejin rushed to his screen. He was right. The probe's seemingly strange behavior made perfect sense when compared to the mathematical patterns in the signals. It was being guided through a careful study of the black hole. "Someone built this network," Hejin said slowly. "They created stable wormholes across the galaxy and left instructions for how to use them. They want to be found. They want to communicate." The team looked at each other, understanding the weight of this moment. They had just confirmed that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. More than that, they had found evidence of a civilization so advanced it could build highways through space itself. As night fell over the Mission Control Center, the team continued their work with renewed energy. They weren't just scientists studying a black hole anymore. They had become humanity's first contact team with an advanced alien civilization. News of the discovery spread quickly around the world. Television stations interrupted their regular programs to announce that humanity had found evidence of advanced alien engineering. Scientists from every country offered to help study the signals. Religious leaders held meetings to discuss what this meant for their beliefs. In the midst of all this excitement, a young mathematician named Jin Yang arrived at the Korean Space Research Institute. She had been recommended by her university professors, who said she had a special talent for seeing patterns that others missed. "Thank you for coming," Jin said, leading Jinna to a desk covered with printouts of the signal patterns. "We need fresh eyes on this data." Jinna sat down and began studying the papers. The room around her buzzed with activity as the rest of the team continued their work. Myray was still decoding new signals, while Taesung worked on understanding the mathematics behind them. After several hours of quiet study, Jinna suddenly stood up. "Dr. Park," she called out, "I think I found something important." Jin hurried over, followed by the rest of the team. Jinna had arranged the signal patterns in a new way, creating a three-dimensional model using simple paper folding. "Look at this," Jinna said, pointing to her paper model. "The mathematical sequences aren't just instructions. They're a map. Each black hole in the network is like a station on a train line. And these patterns," she pointed to a specific sequence, "these show us how to travel between them." The team stared at Jin-Ah's simple but brilliant demonstration. She had found what they had all missed. The signals weren't just telling them about the black hole network. They were showing humanity how to use it. "It's an invitation," Sunmai said softly. "They're inviting us to join them." Jin felt her hand shake as she studied Jin-Ah's model. The stable Einstein-Rosen bridges, the careful positioning of the black holes, the mathematical instructions, it's all designed to help younger civilizations learn how to travel through space. "But why?" Jeho asked. "Why would an advanced civilization want to help others join them?" "Maybe they're lonely," Jinnah suggested. "Or maybe they believe that the universe is better when different civilizations can meet and share their knowledge." As they discussed the possibilities, Do-hyun called out from his station. "Pathfinder is sending new data. The probe has found more detailed instructions hidden in the black hole's energy patterns." The team rushed to their stations. On their screens, new mathematical sequences appeared. These were different from the earlier ones. More detailed, more specific. They showed exactly how a spacecraft could safely enter and exit the stable wormhole. "They're teaching us step by step," Taesung said, his voice filled with wonder. "Like parents teaching a child to walk." Hae-jin looked around at her team. Myray was recording the new signals. Sunmai was running quantum simulations of the travel instructions. Jinna was updating her model with the new information. Taesung and Jiho were checking the physics behind everything. And Do-hyun was making sure Pathfinder continued its vital mission. Together, they were witnessing the moment humanity took its first steps toward joining a larger community among the stars. The mysterious black hole had turned out to be more than just a scientific puzzle. It was a doorway to humanity's future. 1 month after Jinnah's breakthrough, the Korean Space Research Institute hosted the most important meeting in human history. Representatives from every major space agency sat around a large conference table. On screens around the room, scientists from other countries joined virtually. They had all gathered to make a crucial decision. Hae-jin stood at the front of the room, with her team beside her. "We have fully decoded the instructions," she said. "We understand how to use the stable wormhole. The question now is, should we do it?" The room remained silent for a moment. Everyone understood the weight of this decision. Using the wormhole would be humanity's first step into a larger universe, but it also carried risks. "We've built a test vehicle," Hyunwoo said, showing designs on the main screen. "It's similar to Pathfinder but modified according to the instructions we received. Our calculations show it could safely travel through the wormhole." "What's on the other side?" someone asked. "We don't know exactly," Myray answered. "But the signal suggests there's a similar station, another engineered black hole with the same properties as ours. The mathematics shows it's about 50,000 light-years away, in another part of our galaxy. Sun Ma stepped forward with her quantum computing results. We've run millions of simulations, she said. The physics works. The math is perfect. Whoever built this system wanted to make absolutely sure it would be safe for others to use. Tai Sung pointed to Jin A's three-dimensional model, now rebuilt as a detailed hologram. The network connects hundreds of points throughout the galaxy. It's like an interstate highway system through space. We'd be accessing just one small part of it. The NASA representative spoke up. This could change everything. Instant travel across the galaxy, contact with other civilizations, access to knowledge we can't even imagine. Or it could be dangerous, another scientist warned. We don't know who built this network or why. What if they're not friendly? Jai-Ho shook his head. Look at how carefully they designed these instructions, how patiently they waited for someone to find them. These aren't the actions of a hostile civilization. They want to welcome us, to help us grow. Jin looked at the faces around the room. She saw fear, excitement, doubt, and hope. This was humanity's moment of choice. They could stay safe in their small corner of space, or they could take a brave step into a larger universe. We've always looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone, she said. Now we know we're not. Someone reached out across space and time to invite us to join them. They built a door and gave us the key. The only question is, are we brave enough to use it? One by one, the representatives began to nod. The Japanese Space Agency was first to agree, followed by NASA, then ESA. Soon, everyone in the room had voted yes. Then it's decided, Ho Jin said. We'll send the test vehicle through the wormhole. Humanity will take its first step into the galactic community. As she looked at her team, Jai-Ho with his cautious wisdom, Tai Sung with his brilliant theories, Sun Ma with her quantum computations, Mi Re with her signal analysis, Jin A with her pattern recognition, Du Hyun with his careful monitoring, and Hyun Woo with his engineering skills, she felt proud. Together, they had solved the mystery of the black hole. Now they would help humanity begin its greatest adventure.